All right, and we're live. Hello, everybody out there in Twitch watching land. I'm the Overmaster, and this is WatchWolf 92, and we're here, and we're bringing you. I believe this is number 7. This is number 7. The an expedition TNE. Now on Saturdays, of course. There's been a ton of changes. In both Throne and Expedition, but especially for Expedition, there's been a couple of nerfs. There's been a new set since then. We haven't actually covered a an Expedition set since the set dropped. So yeah, are you excited for this, Watchwolf?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I believe we have 3 expedition TNEs before the Open, or maybe somewhere, between those 4 events. So it's really awesome. This gives people a very low-cost way to be able to try out the format, kind of, test the waters out, and even maybe be able to score an invite or collect some points to be able to get into the TNE Invitational and qualify for Worlds to join both you and me.
That's right. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be a sorry. Okay, so we're actually right now we're gonna be featuring Stormguard versus imsobad. Stormguard is on this sweet mid-range Elysian deck. I have actually not seen Elysian mid-range on ladder. I haven't really tested ladder, but I was watching some of the top minds prepare for this event. So we'll, we're gonna say we're gonna see what they've brought to the table and whatnot. And imsobad is on a JPS control deck. It's pretty cool with like menagerie and stuff. Okay, so they're in the game. Okay, and they're off. All right, and Stormguard looks like he has a pretty decent hand here. Is that a Terry mount? I think that's a Terry
Yeah,
mount.
yeah. So it looks like Stormguard implicitly due to deck gets to do a 1, 2, 3, 4 here if it wants to of the Terrax mount, pay off the debt, Hexavore into Hill.
Yep.
Uh,
Looks like imsobad has not taken their mulligan yet because they have a 1 power hand. Should get to see that thrown back.
yeah, yeah. So for I'm So Bad, I believe this was a deck that some people on the display was kind of throwing around. We like to call these types of decks time vampire, where you kind of just take a really long time and figure out how to win later. So I believe it was partially Parmalee that worked on this one.
Plating is the other one, kind of. You can rebuy. I like the Petra in there because you can rebuy some of your spells, so that if you went really late, like let's say you're down to 2 or 3 health versus an aggro deck, you can rebuy and like continue going on, right?
Right. And one thing you see in this first hand is the Duelist Blade. So by giving yourself Aegis, you hope to be able to keep the Poacher's Menagerie around longer. That could prove to be pretty good, as Stormguard has access to the Waystone Igniter to be able to kill.
2 islands favor as well as the 2 duelist blades, so that's pretty good. So yeah, we've got a this hand, like it's okay. It has the menagerie, it has the namesake of the deck, but that display there, the display of will being the wrong one for this hand. They do have both, the display of will as well as the display of survival, but this is not the hand for display of which one? I already forgot. There's so many of them. There's
Display
so
of
many displays.
Survival.
Yeah.
Survival's the primal one.
Yeah. Exactly.
So on Stormguard's side, just simply curving out, playing the threats, knowing they kind of have a little bit more of the aggressive role, given that Time Vampire deck or the Purpose deck just wants to go very late, kind of just trade off threats.
So I wonder if Stormguard has any way of responding. They have 4 Waystone Igniters and 3 Dismantles. They went with the full Monty, as the so to speak, of relic based removal,
Well,
and And imsobad does not have an Aegis right now.
There's also display of realities, which can kill all relics on that.
Right. Yeah, 2 of those as well.
So the black book missing here with the sabotage, but still posing to be a good blocker.
Guard coming down, silencing the. Oh, it's 1 attack. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
This is a great response to the black book. This new promo from the last chapter.
Yeah, this is kind of something we've seen since Patrick Sullivan rejoined the design team of putting high impact promos into the set. So since Quinn onwards, I believe.
Yeah.
We've seen these cards come up. So there's a few like Vikram's bombs today. You even see the newest of all promos, Rogar.
I wonder if imsobad is gearing up. I think they're gearing up to get this.
Well, so
Yeah, they don't have the double shadow though.
right,
So
exactly. So kind of needing to
like a few chumps here.
right, the 1/7 still being a good body here, but yeah, needing to chump block. There's a few overwhelm units on the other side, so I think we might be looking at this turn or bust.
Can they make this triple block on this? That would put them down to a very precarious life total 2.
Yeah, so
They decided to make a triple block. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of just gotta think how the game plays out. Like, is literally the only way you can win the times where you draw the extra shadow source, or are you allowed to possibly wait a turn, maybe hope to have enough blockers from the Fisher's Menagerie?
imsobad might have to draw this turn.
Yeah, I think so as well. You have pretty high upside of being able to hit, say, like a seed, and that's why you would need to play it now instead of at the end of Stormguard's turn.
Be able to put. I
Yeah,
decided to concede here. I didn't count, so it probably was lethal.
yeah.
With all the
With all
overwhelm
the
units.
yeah, exactly. 1/7 can only block one of the overwhelm units. I'm rumbling in. First game to Stormguard, just kind of the stumble from imsobad in terms of shadow sources. Kind of just at play there, and the curve being very nice from Stormguard's side. So I'll be curious to see if it's able to play at the same second game. Problems on that side.
Yeah, I mean, you do pay a price for running 3 faction decks in Expedition for sure. You can get very very powerful draws. You can play very very powerful cards, but sometimes you have to pay the consequences, right? Pay the
There is
piper, so to
some
speak.
there is some interesting tension. So if you play just say all the seats and all the tomes, and then you can even play a bunch of Sultan conclaves, but then you end up having too few sigils in your deck, and then your seats come in depleted, and they're just not doing anything for the first couple turns. So it's pretty interesting. But you're able to play Seek Power to mitigate that. So there's an interesting.
I wonder if he is playing card. He is playing a
Yeah,
couple, yeah.
yeah. It's 2 Seek Power and 2
run,
Islands favors.
Yeah, you get exactly. You can't run too many if you want to protect your poacher's manager. You can't run too many Seek Powers because otherwise you're just gonna drop power for the rest of the game stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I found it very very interesting. You can actually run. Now of course imsobad is running both displays, kind of running more of the primal displays than the shadow displays. But you can kind of fix your power base even in 3 faction decks to run a bunch of because you have both the tomes and seats, but all of them for both. You can kind of like play one of them very very reliably, but you can't run. I found you could not run more than that reliably.
Right. So what you're kind of saying is you can have like a focus with like a double splash, and then be able to play the dispel, the display on the one that you're focused.
Exactly. I saw Spiff running something like that. Even in a 4 faction deck, I think he was still able to run a display, just one. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're back into game 2. Stormguard kept his hand. It is very depleted, so we'll see how that works out for him.
Right, and not having quite the same aggressive start as last time. So, like in your deck that's playing Teriax Mount, Waystone Igniter, and Plunk, kind of rough in terms of how slow this hand out, and really playing at I'm so bad's pace.
Yeah. Notably, this time I'm so bad does have the second shadow if he chooses to. Well, actually, he just has it now. Uh,
So, so there is an interesting drawback to not having your 1 and 2 drops on time. That might not be intuitive. So typically, when you're playing board clear and single point removal like Slay, there's an interesting tension of like, okay, if I deploy too many things, then you just play the board clear, and then if I deploy too slowly, then you just kill off the one thing. But by not having a 1 or 2 drop, then you just allow I'm so bad to do
to
whatever
do
is
that.
most optimal, and then later on, when you start drawing extra power and say start two spelling, say playing like a 4 drop and a 2 drop, then that plays into the sweepers that they're more likely to be able to sandbag.
Yeah. Um. Probably just. I wonder if Stormguard is no. They're just going to play out the black book. Thought maybe they'd hold it. Maybe take another hit because I mean, if Stormguard, yeah,
So I do like Stormguard's decision there to play the dinosaur nest, kind of choosing, okay, if I allow you to black book me, what do I want you to black book? And the Trials and Tribulations isn't exactly for this matchup, but the dinosaur's nest on the other side can still be pretty potent.
yeah, it is very strong. Even though was nerfed twice since Worlds. A very potent card. Two costs, 9 power worth of stats. Very strong.
Yeah, do you have any experience playing this card?
I might have a little bit of experience playing this card. Um, I I did draw a lot of them. Let's say. I've drawn a lot of Dino Nests in my time.
So on the follow up, so we see Stormguard kind of not committing too many threats because the dinosaur nest is going to use, as you mentioned, the 9 power for just this one relic, probably demanding the board clear by itself. You run into some interesting tension where Stormhalt plating can still come down and not necessarily force the board clear. We see I'm so bad choose to go with board clear.
All right, so there plays out the Exivore here. I'm assuming that we're gonna see
Plating.
a plating played here. Maybe. I mean the black book does block here. It could try that out, right? And then nope. Okay,
Yeah,
just decides to
so
go for it.
th-
It's tough because then they can like double spell or something next turn, right? And then the plating isn't like
yeah,
the
yeah,
the black book wouldn't have been as good.
I agree. There's some interesting tension there. I ultimately like using the plating here and kind of using up more of your power because you're playing cards like Wisdom of the Elders, and you just want to make sure that the times where you want
Yeah.
to churn through your deck, you actually have the ability to like have the board at some form of pair.
Yeah, like if you, although I think if you drawn Boundless Knowledge, you would have probably waited. But
Yep,
like if you had played the
Black Book.
Black Book, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have been able to do both. Now it gets this is actually relevant this matchup. This dismantle here. So now if they draw a Poacher's Menagerie, it'll be clear. I still think that despite Stormguard, staying in the game for quite a long time, I think that yeah, he can sees the writing on the wall. Yeah, I mean the game's not technically over yet, but you're against a control deck. It's probably not gonna you have maybe like 0.5% to win there probably.
yeah. So a lot of that game, I think a lot of the decisions the players made were optimal given the situation. I think the major decision point was actually Stormguard's mulligan decision, whether or not you're allowed to keep out a 1 or 2 drop. Like, there's no cards like Defiance, like sure, there's Call to Hit, but there's a lot more just like Slay and then the board clears. So if you don't lead on something like Plunk or like an early drop, you're very much just playing at I'm so bad's pace. So I
I,
wonder. I'm
I
not sure
think
if that
that
was the first 7 or the second 7.
yeah, I was gonna say that too. I don't actually know that. I think that it was his first seven, and it did look like an okay hand, right? Like if you mulligan that, like you might get you probably you probably get it's like 50-50. You get a worse hand or a better hand, right? But
Yeah, I just think when you look at the deck list and just think how the matchup plays out, I think you actually just mulligan every hand that doesn't have a 1 or 2 drop. Like,
yeah.
you end up just too far behind too often. Like, especially against the relic weapons. Like, you need to have multiple things in play to really pressure relic.
In this case, again, Stormguard keeps a hand without that. And is on the draw again. Notably, we don't have the play draw enforced here
Well, one day
today.
we'll have the technology.
One day, one day. We can of course concede to each other, but I've seen how that goes in these sort of high level tournaments, and
You can literally be stuck here for an infinite amount of time.
you could be, yeah. I've seen up to 8 or 9 though, and that's not great for anybody, right? Like,
Well, I mean, yeah, it depends. So like in paper card game tournaments, I actually like high roll because I feel like the intensity of tying is really awesome. But it's not quite as elegant in your digital card game that could probably just
yeah.
yeah.
So Lunar Claw comes down. Could kill this. You might actually. Yeah. It doesn't block anything though, right? Besides the dismantle. I wonder if he's gonna use it here. Yeah, just lets it go. Probably can get rid of this Lunar Claw eventually, although it is 4 health. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I love this decision. Like, I think you can just treat this Lunar Claw like a play sort of effect. Like, what are you really hitting? You could hit Dismantle, but how long are you actually expecting this live given the composure of your hand? Like, I guess if you draw a Primal Source, then you start displaying the cards that are in play, but that's not really what you're about here.
Oh, the mighty has fallen. Zito can't be played in this format, I don't think, with Hexavores running around.
Yeah, well, we might see some sort of cyclic effect where there's enough like hexavores, and then people maybe like it's very efficient, but maybe people stop playing hexavore, and then maybe Zito comes back. But
Yeah.
it's nice to have some checks and balances in place.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of Hexavores on ladder, but it it's just the threat of it currently. You never know.
Mhm.
Once the metagame settles, maybe there'll be like less Hexavores. I mean,
I
this
mean,
deck looks very efficient though. In terms of like big beaters, time beaters. So it's definitely probably a player.
it is also true that if you're playing Zito, you can try to optimize your deck to use it like a tactic. 1-1.
That's yeah. That is what it's called. It's not called TikTok. It's called TalkTick.
Yeah, we don't want any sort of copyright thing. Famous app. So I'm so bad not actually looking too hot. Leaving up, I guess not playing the menagerie because you know that the dismantle is gonna get you, but
Right.
you're kind of just doing nothing given that you have these triple primal displays in your hand.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of tension. You can build it so you can play one display, but the multiple display is a little tough. Um,
Yeah. So
see,
from
and he didn't play no notably he didn't play a board clear that turn, and I'm so bad did not play a board clear that turn. So um, it would be pretty foolish of I'm so bad not to play a board clear that turn. I think so. Stormguard seeing this decides to put on the pressure even further.
yeah, you also have a little bit of a funky hand, but it makes a lot of sense.
Take them down to 3, I believe here.
Yeah.
Um,
So I wonder if there's some consideration to trials to pump your team first. Then
right. That would
I'm
have
trying
been
to think.
lethal. That would
I
have
don't
been
think there's any
lethal.
fast spell that would have punished that, but I think as it stands, still probably lethal.
Yeah. It's this turn even with the okay, so this is a concession, I believe. Let's see that kills something. Does it kill anything? I don't even know if that kills anything because there's no heroes on their side. Yep. All right, and Stormguard takes that series 2-1.
Yeah, we apologize on the overlay for the names being backwards, but we'll have that fixed for the next.
No,
But yeah, so
the
pretty
names aren't
interesting.
backwards. That's from the OBS.
Oh,
Is it?
wow. I don't know. I thought what we're
Oh,
saying is what gets streamed. It's okay. We talk about it, during the break or whatever. But
All right.
let's see if we have any other matches to.
Pick up this back up. Right now we have.
So it looks like we're going to be tuning into Roshi versus Sono. So
Matches
Roshi,
left.
known to brew, and has quite the. I guess it's mostly like a singleton purpose deck, except it has 4-0.
Yeah, it has the tableau in there.
Mhm.
Get that huge value if you draw the tableau. Every um,
Right, and then
it's
on
hard. It's hard for me to read the list right now because there's so many one ofs.
that's fine.
But,
And then on Sono's side, we see this Menace deck using the newly buffed Feln Adept.
right, that card is insane now.
I thought it was borderline fine even as a 3-drop, but now it's like
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
really good.
pretty insane. I thought it was. I definitely played a little bit with Felnet before it got buffed, and it was probably fine, to be honest. And
Yeah,
now it's just gonna. It's definitely a pillar of the format now. I think it's getting
yeah.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of I think the Rat King was also like that, like a cost 4, then got buffed to 3 or something like that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like I already kind of wanted to play Rat King at 4.
Yeah. Wrecking was already. It was decent at 4. I don't think it's quite the same level of disparity in power level as Felnet versus what it was
Mhm.
before, but yeah. Because a 2-drop, once you put something in 2-drop range, that means that you can always cast it in Eternal,
Yep.
every single game, right? Oh, and look at this, and
Pew
Sono,
pew.
yeah, easy game. All right, I believe that was that match, and Sono takes it 2-1.
And we're just chugging right along like a machine. Awesome. But yeah, it's nice to see a lot of these decks that are like I feel like right now Expedition's in a really good spot of like tons of exploration, lots of innovation, people wanting to break all the new cards, utilizing the promos, utilizing the nerfs or buffs, however you want to put like the nerfs to say like Bullseye, which is why we see this Sacred Tableau deck, or
Yeah,
the buff to Felon Adept, as we mentioned.
yeah. I think one of the things is that Poacher's Menagerie is kind of be a very very distinct feature of the format because of the
Mhm.
Bullseye nerf, for sure. I do like the fact that that Frenzy gets a chance to shine even because I really like spell based decks and that kind of thing, like hitting your opponent, being able to hit your opponent in the face and then getting something of value from it is like one of my favorites.
So Theo, there's Zito, your cat.
Yeah, that's right. Does Dikadaga run run Hexavore in their deck?
No, there's no Hexafor. DQ Doggo deck.
Okay, all right. Well, safe for now. Safe for now. All right. Relic coming down.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for
Giving
this
yeah,
Black Maw Carnosaur though.
that is a beefy. I don't remember exactly what it does. One
Yeah,
second.
so it's taunt while the enemy player has more units than you as lifesteal if they have more health than you.
Okay. Okay. So they're exactly even in life total. There's a lot of tension here.
Yeah. But
So,
what I like about it is when you're kind of like behind, but you play the 6/6, maybe they can't attack, and then by attacking with taunt, you might like goad certain like multi blocks, and then your fast removal like call to hit ends up being very good.
yeah, like in this case.
Yeah, it didn't have taunt here, but still the double block, which makes a lot of sense. But what I like the most is the Blackmaw Carnosaur. Then you could play like through the unknown to get it back, and like it allows like one of these larger units that can still maybe not in this deck, but still trigger frenzy.
Yeah,
Um,
there's two of
by
those
being a
units
shadow.
that are very very strong at 5 in this in Xenon. That's this Carnosaur as well as the new
Krogar.
promo.
Yeah.
Grodar. I think it's Grodar, right?
Yeah. But yeah, this is very much just like a good cards kind of deck.
Yep. I'm assuming that we're gonna see DQ Doggo that they missed out on 3 health. Oh man. Although it won't get haunt, right? If won't get life steal, right? If they have
Yeah.
less.
So we haven't talked as much about Daskar's deck. So even though it's the Xena Mirror, Daskar's deck is a lot more lowered to the ground. Is trying to utilize the big wheel by just
Oh.
having more cards than the opponent and be able to deploy them faster. So we see none of the 5 drops in their deck. So there's kind of this adage in these types of TCGs of like if you're slightly slower and slightly bigger, it's typically good for you. And we kind of see that on display in this game.
Yeah, in order to run a card like the Big Wheel, which is at the start of your turn, draw an additional card and take damage equal to its cost. If it's a power, gain 2 health. You need to run a low curve because otherwise, even if your curve is exactly 3, and it might not even be that, it might be like on average 3. It still you take what 1.5 damage per turn, which is what I believe LOA worked it out one time. That's what it is. So that's still quite a bit of damage unless you're an aggressive deck when you're trying to kill your opponent and getting that small advantage, whatnot. So
Right, and there is some cost. So if we see a lot of dismantles running around, then you're paying a cost trying to like make this payoff. But the fact that some subset of the time, even when you get your payoff in play, then they're able to interact with it, and then you're playing a lower power deck. It makes it a little bit difficult.
yeah, it even costs 4. So Waystone Igniters can take it out. Waystone Igniter is certainly a big pillar of the format. I think just like it was when Dino Nest was released.
It is kind of ironic that if the big wheel costs 5, it might be better because it would dodge both dismantle and waste an igniter.
Yeah. But then again, making your Bob card cost 5 is kind of not great either, right?
Right. Yeah,
Bob being
it's
a magic card. Sorry for all those out there who get
wow.
the reference.
You need to focus on eternal terms. Like your waxing moon that is always waxing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Waxing moon that's always waxing.
All right.
Um,
So we see the blood-sucking Skeeter here, which is able to trade with one of the uh, still kind of playing catch up on this.
had that the bloodsucking Skeeter in the world's deck for a long time. Until like the final day of the when we just decided to play the 2 cost one instead.
The the blister wisp or
Yeah, the
wasp.
Blister Sting Wasp.
Okay, so we see just an attack with the 3. I'm playing a little bit more conservative, valuing the Carnosaur presence, maybe. But the slight problem in that is now that the Dino Nest flips, like unless if you're playing Spider next, then 2 of the dinosaurs can just trade with one. But it could be possible that DQ Doggo is trying to wait for their dinosaur nest to flip. That way they have 8/8.
So we see Backyard Block.
It is also true
I
that
mean,
so if you want to play a game of just like macros or heuristics, it's like DQ Doggo knows that their deck is kind of like a little bit bigger, plays a little bit better towards the late game. As long as there's no the big wheels in play, then um, it just
okay.
nets out well to wait over time. I think part of where that could break down is like a large number of Vikrams that are drawn. We see one drawn
Ooh,
on
that
this
that was a
side.
that was certainly a great draw though. Gonna get rid of the Bloodsucking Mosquito. That means that he can start they can start attacking with the 6/6s, right? Um,
Yep. One thing I actually do like about
one trade.
Rogar also is like besides stopping the deadly units, you can also silence Vikram. Like it actually interacts very well with a lot of the key players in the.
Yeah. Vikram is certainly a huge will be a huge bane on the format. Seen a lot of people get fairly salty about the card. I think there are interaction points with it, so it's not like you you can definitely win games versus like even if their opponent has like a ton of Vikrams, but you do lose a lot of tempo if you don't have like the answer straight away, for
Right.
sure.
And then a lot of people being encouraged to play cards like through the unknown between like being able to get something.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
so that marks the end of the round. So we're going to cut to a short commercial break while we get the next round.
Oh.
There's one more game left. Sorry, the
Oh
the
man.
voice from above that only we can hear has told us that there's one match left.
Match left. In, uh. Wait. I'm seeing it. Was that the end of the round? Well, we'll see. We'll see. We've heard that there's a third game in one of the matches. Oh, so that was just a tying game. Now we're going to a game 3.
Yeah,
Sweet.
the rubber game. So the voice from above has told us that this is the match that's going to the third game. So looks like the big wheel was able to take it down in the first game. I'll be interested in seeing what happens in the third game. And there's a lot of really interesting decision points in terms of sequencing and posturing of just, okay, I want to develop my Dino Nest, but I know that you have Waystone Igniter, but the longer I wait, my Dino Nest gets a little bit worse. So can it get better for me? Like, can I get you to like commit your Waystone Igniter to get either two? So I'm excited. So Theo, I feel like I've made my sort of stance between the two decks known. How do you feel about the tension between the two decks, and which CN deck would you put your not real money on?
In general, I bet on the deck that goes a little bigger. They're not so far different in speed. One is obviously the beatdown here, and that's Daskar's deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so far fast. It's not like it's an aggressive deck. I do bet on on uh on the DQ Doggy's deck going a little bigger, and that's how I would put the matchup.
Well, one thing I do like about Daskar's deck is that by playing so many relics, kind of overwhelm the number of answers to it, so your big wheel can stick more often because you're allowed to curve Dino Nest into it. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, it's kind of like DQ Doggo's able to sort of take this slower approach. Like doesn't need as many things to go well for them. Like if they both draw a similar amount of spells power, it seems like it would be a little bit more in DQ Doggo's favor. But if there's any kind of like disparity there, we can see the differences really come.
Notably, this hidden Garrote doesn't really have like huge amount of targets once the Grumbo goes out of range. The other side, I think Grumbo is being played. No, okay.
Well, the best target's
Grumbo's being played.
the opponent. The opponent's always
Okay. Well, Daskar, it's interesting. I just noticed it. Is not playing Rat King or
Mhm.
Grumbo in the deck.
Yeah, despite being a lower to the ground deck.
Yeah, despite being exactly. Um.
So we do see more. It's slightly more of a synergy based sort of thing. You got this field medic, with deadly units. Pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
on defense, you're able to like, well, let's see. The field medic only makes itself invulnerable. Okay, sorry. I thought it made.
Yeah. That would be truly busted.
It would probably just
Okay.
cost a few more.
And that sinking feeling when somebody plays a field medic on ladder against you. You knew you could attack. You couldn't attack, but you did it anyway. um. Okay. We're heading into the next game. Already got a. Yeah. So.
So we see the Zito coming out, so starting the display, which is a little bit hard to cast here. And we'll get the thing updated in the upper left. We know this isn't the finals; it's 1-1. No matter. So we see Zito bringing the beat down, but Daskar with a double shadow start. We don't have the ham cam up yet, but that can either mean you're trying to set up a play, which they actually don't have in their deck, or just how the single influence is playing out.
They had to play it that way, probably. The Dynamis comes down. We know that Deco Doggo has the answer.
Well, but not the influence. Oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was looking at the display. Yes, of course, the Waystone Ignite.
So we're back to square one.
I would love to see a big wheel here, though.
Here. Probably means that they have a way to block it. Okay, they don't. They had the double nest draw. So had an answer to one. And of course, Deco has the Rat King, which is a pretty solid answer to Dino Nest.
Right. So you don't necessarily get to answer the Shelter Valley, but you get to answer the baby dinos before they grow up.
Exactly. So Daskar gets the 4/4 on the board. So this display can't actually kill this 4/4. Has to be
right.
a hero.
But the Shrivel can.
Yeah.
So one combo I like in Daskar's deck is through the unknown with these Nahid's Faithfuls. So you can just keep on growing them and throwing away all your like Zetos and smaller units.
So Deco has this. I mean, they could play this Grumbo into Rat King, and then next turn they could play. I think that's probably the play that we're gonna see them make. Although they can't kill this Dino now, so they would have to let that go for a turn.
Yeah,
be worth it though.
Trying to figure out. So Daskar is kind of representing the field medic, so you probably just don't want to do much. It's between Devour and field medic.
And they killed it, and now they're not representing a field medic anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're able to get the attack in.
Right.
It's still an interesting tension. Maybe you just play the whatever it's called.
Okay.
Okay.
They want to get the most value out of Grumbo. I could see that. They possibly can.
Yeah, you don't play that card to not get value out of it.
And once again, another Rat King comes down. That means that it's going to become a 4/4 Grumbo this turn, and they're going to kill the Dynamis. And this is looking very dire for Daskar currently.
Yeah.
We'll see what their response will be.
Yeah, I feel like given that Daskar's deck is so low to the ground, you might be able to just attack with Grumbo to make them play the field medic.
I don't think I would have attacked with the although they're probably just going to block the 3. Yeah, they'd probably.
Yeah. It just depends on how you view the pacing of this game. Like whether or not you feel like you have to get the game over soon.
Looks like Deku Doggo's on the beatdown here though.
So it is true that the Grumbo's not as good as it could be sometimes, in that there's so many deadly units in Daskar's deck between the Scorpion Wasp and Eater. And then you can also end up in a spot where it gets Vikrammed, and then that actually blanks your attacks. And I wonder if we can see this Krogar being saved for a possible Vikram in the, like maybe you could just play the Sahin this turn.
it does attack decently on the board. It's it trades with the 4/3.
Right.
Well, it won't trade with it as soon as it gets a -1/-1 from the. We'll see if they do that or something else.
Right.
But
So it just depends on if you're still in like how do I win mode or how do I not lose mode, because like do you view yourself as like far ahead or behind? So I want to have like this sort of like, sure, you have display of will for the Vikram, but I feel like a certain critical mass of Vikrams is like how you end up losing from the spot.
so the cheeky little attack here. They don't want to trade any of this off. Dikudagu recognizes their role for sure. They're not going to lose this game late. They have the bigger cards. They're not going to lose the game late, so they're just going to make these small little attacks. They're not going to try to trade off the Grumbo for both the units or something like that,
Mhm.
right? They're just going to be content and just keep their board state going. Could change with the Vikram. We'll see. And of course, Dikudaga gets the Vikram instead. So we're
Right.
probably going
So
to see that. Is this lethal this turn? I think it is. If a Deskar doesn't have anything, it could very well have a field medic at hand, though.
also one thing I'm curious about is whether or not a pause was already checked for, because you can like on call the hit. So if you play the Vikram deal, and then I guess that doesn't actually matter because it would go back exhausted. Um, well, no, they would just do it when you try to Vikram, so then it wouldn't be. Yeah, so maybe just holding off for that reason. Valuing the Rat King's ability here by not attacking it, not wanting to offer it for the.
Yeah, especially with the Vikram coming. Like, one way you're gonna lose this game is by playing the Vikram and then having them kill it, and like the things go in that direction, right?
Mhm.
Like, whereas if you keep the Rat King alive, you can just sacrifice the unit, right?
Yep.
They
Yeah.
do have to play 2 units though. They do have to. Deskar would have to play 2 units in order for that to come up. But and there we go. Ikadago wins the game 2-1. Wins the match 2-1.
Yeah.
That was the final game that time.
But yeah, so with that one in the books, we can get set up for round 2 and such. We'll cut to a quick commercial break.
See you guys next round.